So let's go ahead and get started. So, welcome everybody to the Writing the Chorus workshop. So, last month we focused on writing verses. If you missed the workshop, I believe it's still posted in the online community and it's also on the YouTube channel. So, if you haven't subscribed to the At Home Songwriting YouTube channel, you can get to it at athomesongwriting.com. And I'll share my screen here. But yes, make sure to subscribe and see the videos that I post from not only the live workshops, but sometimes I make YouTube exclusive videos on songwriting, and there's a ton of stuff up there right now. So check that out. Also, if you find value in this workshop, you can give me tips. Daddy works for tips. It's at buymeacoffee.com/at-home-songwriting. So it's buymeacoffee.com/at-home-songwriting. Pretty easy to get to. But today, what we're going to talk about is writing choruses. So, what are we going to cover on that topic? So, first, we're going to learn about the role of a chorus in your songs. And we're going to learn about two different types of song sections and how those two types of sections work together and how you can use that to your advantage to write stronger songs. We're also going to discuss what makes a great chorus. We're going to learn multiple chorus structures. We're going to do some writing exercises. And then we're also going to listen to a number one song to see how your chorus can be recolored by changing and advancing a who, when, where, but keeping the same why of your song. So lots of stuff to cover today. So if you have questions, you can put those in the chat. Also, raise your hand. Use the raise hand function under reactions. It's usually at the bottom of your screen. And definitely try to answer as many questions and things like that as I can. But let's jump in today and first have kind of an open discussion. And you can put this in the chat or raise your hand. And also take notes on what your fellow writers are saying, because this can give you a sense of what your aim may be while you're writing a chorus and kind of what you're aiming for. So when you think about a great chorus, what are some of the qualities that you think about when you think, wow, that's a really great chorus? So Tony says a catchy hook. And again, you can put it in the chat or raise your hand. Jeanette says memorable feeling. So how it makes you feel, kind of the emotion of it. What else comes to mind? Ron says it clarifies the meaning of the song. Dory says it's a melodic rise. David says the message resonates emotionally and it's fun to sing. Fun to sing is always good. Anything else come to mind as you think about that? These are all great things, and it's not a trick question, but these are all right. And these are things to think about as you are writing your choruses. Is it fun to sing? Does it resonate with an emotion? Like Dory said, does it give melodic rise? Sometimes it's not necessarily melodic rise, but it's like an energy rise. Ron says it clarifies the meaning of the song. Jeanette says it's memorable. Jeanette also says it's the main topic. Yeah. And Tony saying a catchy hook. So all of those things are really good things to be aiming for when you are writing your chorus. So before we jump in, I want you to come up with some song titles. So I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes, and I want you to look at this picture, and I want you to write down as many potential song titles that come to mind as you can. So look at the picture. Are there things that you can use as a song title? Are there feelings you can use as a song title? So we'll give it 3 minutes and see how many song titles you can write down in that 3 minutes. And we'll start now. All right, so that is our 3 minutes here. Um, so keep those song titles because we're going to use them a little bit later this morning. So hopefully you had some ideas from the picture, and hopefully this is something that you try when you maybe are feeling like you might be blocked up and not knowing necessarily what to write about. Just do some Google image searches and search for different things and write down as many song titles or things that you see within the photos. It can be a great way to spark some ideas and some creativity. So let's review a little bit of what our song section duties or what the song section responsibilities are. So within most commercial type songs or most popular style songs, and when I say that, that can be a lot of different genres, it can be a lot of different styles over the years, but there are really three sections that almost all songs seem to have. The first is a verse. So the verses really are the places where you're setting up the situation, you're setting the scene, you're establishing a who, a where, and a when. And the sooner you can establish who, where, and when of your story, the sooner your listener knows if they want to care or not. So one thing that a lot of writers do is they fall flat because they're not giving enough information to the listener so the listener can subconsciously decide, do I actually care about the song or not? So think about who is singing, why are they singing, who are they singing to, when is this happening, where is it happening? And then the chorus is really the emotional center of the song. It's the main idea, and it establishes the why the singer is singing the song in the first place. So it's really the center of what your song is about. So your chorus is basically like a thesis statement that says, this is my point. This is the point of the song. Here's what I'm trying to say. And then when you have a bridge, the duty of a bridge is to really give contrast and take us somewhere new. So a bridge usually sounds different than the other sections. It expands on the ideas in the song. It can summarize some of the things that we've already heard, or it can completely introduce new information as well. So the bridge kind of is there to be different than the other sections, and it gives the listener a break from things that they've already heard. So what then is a chorus? So we already said it's where the main idea lives. It's where the main emotional center is. But where does the idea of a chorus come from? Well, the idea of a chorus really started in theater, where in like ancient Greece, when they would do performances, they would have actors perform a scene, and then there was a jury or a choir that would sort of respond to what just happened. So the word chorus actually means singing together. So it's where a group of people sang together about the scene that just happened. So it's kind of like what just happened in the verse. Here's the chorus that's singing about what we've just learned. So the concept goes back quite a long ways, and it's been adapted into modern music where we're used to having a chorus. So there are two types of song sections then. You have a developmental sections, and then you have central sections. So every part of your song is going to be doing one of these things. So the verses are really developmental because they're giving information that leads to the main point. The developmental sections also can provide concrete details or imagery that gives context to the emotional parts of the song. And it also can create contrast that leads to the central point of the song. So verses can be developmental, bridges can be developmental, pre-choruses a lot of times are going to be developmental. And then you also have the central parts of songs, which are the places and the sections that are summarizing the main idea. And it's really pulling in that emotional center and the why everything else is happening in the song, and it completes the main thought or the idea, and it's usually a repeated part, like a chorus. A chorus is usually the most repeated part of a song. So choruses, of course, very central. They're very much the meat of the song. So what about hook versus chorus then? So a chorus is a song section, whereas a hook doesn't necessarily have to be a section. When people say hook, they're usually referring to the main message of the song. And this is from a lyrical hook perspective. You also have melodic hooks and harmonic hooks that can be just catchy motifs. But a hook from a lyric perspective usually refers to the title or the main message, or it can be an underlying clever idea. Hooks can be lyrical or musical, and you can have hooks without having a chorus. But a chorus is a section where the hook usually lives. So it's a song section that's repeated to deliver the main emotional concept of the song. Not all songs are going to have a chorus. You may have verse-refrain songs that are verse-refrain, verse-refrain, bridge, verse-refrain. But the chorus usually contains that hook. So what is a refrain then? Because some people use refrain and chorus interchangeably. How I think of a refrain is it's a repeated title line or a repeated hook line that appears in the verses. So it appears either at the beginning or the end of verses in songs that don't have a chorus. Any questions on that so far? Tony says, if the chorus is the most important part of a song, would you recommend writing the chorus first before developing the rest of the song? A lot of writers will tell you to do that, to figure out your hook first, because you know where all roads are going to lead, but you don't have to, because obviously the craft of songwriting and sort of the creative process doesn't always come to you in a nice, clean, this is your chorus, now go. It comes in different ways. But your question comes at the perfect time, because now let's talk about writing the chorus. So as we just said, verses are establishing the who, the what, the where, the when, and then your chorus is like, why am I telling you this? So the verses are developmental. They're setting up the chorus. The chorus then is really telling us what we should feel about it, or what the characters are feeling. Why does the verse matter? So if you write a chorus first, that gives you that strong center, Tony, where you know what the song is about. So you know that all of the other parts should lead to the chorus. And having that chorus idea can give you a lot of space to really play in the verses. And writing the chorus first is a great way to write. And sometimes it's just starting with a title, right? And then you build a chorus off of the title. So how do you then develop the rest of the song? If you start with a chorus, you can ask yourself, who is feeling these feelings? Who is the singer singing to? What happened to make them feel these things? Where is the situation happening? When is this happening? And you can answer these questions in paragraph form and even try to get descriptive. Like if you can, kind of do object writing or write from your senses about the who, the when, the where, that gives you a lot of nice concrete imagery that you can put into verses. So you can come up with these answers that can become parts of your verse material. So that's if you are starting with a chorus first. You can ask, well, where is this happening? When is it happening? Who's it happening to? And describe all of that. So what if you then write verses first? Well, if you write verses first, you can ask yourself sort of the opposite questions, right? So now you have a scene and you have something that's being developed. You can ask, what is this character feeling? Or what should the listener be feeling about what is happening? Or what should the singer be feeling? Also, a good question to ask is, why does this matter to the listener? Why am I telling the listener this? And pay attention to how your verses are coloring or setting up the chorus. Does the chorus mean something more each time you hear it? Or are you just basically repeating the same information from verse 1 to verse 2? And we talked about recoloring with verses in the verse workshop. So if you missed that, you can go back and watch that. But paying attention to, is my transition from each verse making sense as it goes into the chorus, or checking your seams? So great choruses a lot of times should be written in a way that you can recolor it to help make sure that you're not boring your listener, and that you can help the chorus grow in meaning and mean more as the song goes on. So some of you may be asking, well, what does that mean? What does recoloring a chorus mean? Well, the way that I think about it is, within your verses, you are able to advance a who, a when, and a where, but keep the same why. So you could change the who, you could change the when, you could change the where from verse to verse, but the why stays the same. So as an example of this, I want to play a song. This was a #1 song by Trace Adkins. And I want you to pay attention to the who, the when, the where in each verse. And I want you to notice that the chorus stays exactly the same. One thing that I see people doing is writing different lyrics in every chorus. And if you're doing that, you're not really writing a chorus, because the chorus is usually repeated. And if you want people to learn how to sing it and remember how to sing it, don't change the words in your chorus too much. Make your verses do the lifting on how the chorus changes. So write down some notes on what you're experiencing in this song. This song is called You're Gonna Miss This.
She was staring out the window of their SUV, complaining, saying, I can't wait to turn 18. She said, I'll make my own money and I'll make my own rules. Mama put the car in park out there in front of the school, and she kissed her head and said, I was just like you. You're gonna miss this, you're gonna want this back, you're gonna wish these days hadn't gone by so fast. These are some good times, so take a good look around. You may not know it now, but you're gonna miss this. Before she knows it, she's a brand new bride in her 1-bedroom apartment, and her daddy stops by. He tells her it's a nice place. She says, it'll do for now. Starts talking about babies and buying a house. And daddy shakes his head and says, baby, just slow down, 'cause you're gonna miss this, you're gonna want this back, you're gonna wish these days hadn't gone by so fast. These are some good times, so take a good look around. You may not know it now, but you're gonna miss this. apologizing. He says they don't bother me. I've got two babies of my own. One's 36, one's 23. It's hard to believe, but you're gonna miss this. You're gonna want this back. You're gonna wish these days hadn't gone by so fast. These are some good times, so take a good look around. You may not know it now, but you're gonna miss this. You're gonna miss this. Yeah, you're gonna miss this.
So, what are some observations that you had on the recoloring of the chorus? Um, and this isn't do you like the song or not? It's more of like so Victor, you said now that's recoloring. What did you experience?
Well, he kept shifting the perspective, right? First she's a teenager, then she's a young adult, and now she's, getting toward middle life and coming into that last chorus. Boy, that was beautiful emotionally, right? She's still the frustrated teenager with the kids, but the plumber says, "Oh, you're gonna miss this someday," right?
Yeah, for sure. So it means a little bit more every time you hear it. Jeanette.
So it sounds like when he's basically stating the obvious where she said this. So like she said da 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 and mama's gonna I can't remember the lines and especially the chorus. And but there's a lot of contrast, like she mentions mama and daddy, and it's all coming from her perspective. But the only difference is obviously the bridge because he's saying it from his perspective in his own words. I forgot what he said, but there's definitely there's definitely a lot of contrast between each first person, second person, third person verse. So yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So in the chat, Tony said, "Is time moving one of the best ways to advance the song?" Um, it's one of the ways, right? So you have who, where, and when. This song to me actually is advancing all three, right? So you have one character that's throughout the whole thing. You have the girl, but then you have a different person telling her she's going to miss this at each stage in her life. So it starts off with the mom. In the second verse, it's the dad. In the third verse or in the bridge, it's the plumber, right? So you're changing part of the who, and you're also changing both the when and the where. So we started in an SUV, we went to an apartment, and then we ended up in a house. So the where changed, and the when went from high school to college to like post college. So not only are they changing the who, it is changing the where and the when as well. So for your question, Tony, time is definitely a way to think about it, and that's a very common way to move songs forward. And when we talk about time, this song is kind of very much an extreme moving of time, right? We're starting to high school and all of a sudden we're jumping forward. But time can jump ahead even just by minutes, right? So you can focus on a smaller time frame and still have things moving forward within your song. And sometimes focusing on a smaller time frame can give you more chance to go deeper in a topic than going wide. Um, Susan says it seems to me like the chorus moves closer into emotions, like if you're looking to a picture and every time the chorus comes through, it zooms in closer. Absolutely. That's a cool way to think about it. That's a really good analogy of think of it as like if you're watching a movie, right? You start kind of zoomed out and then every time you're kind of zoomed in and you're getting a little bit further into the topic. Um Tony says if it was a longer song, she'd be in a retirement home. You're gonna miss this. That's about her teeth. You're gonna miss the teeth. Um, uh, Ron, I saw that you had your hand raised. Did you want to add in something?
No, you actually highlighted pretty much everything I was going to say. I thought it was interesting. The coloring of the song pointed to each stage of the life. And originally, when I heard the song, I thought, wow, I'm going to miss those kid years. And that's what everybody really does talk about. But in reality, the recoloring of this song shows that you're going to miss every stage of now as you move forward in life. I thought that was a very a cool perspective on the song.
And that's what I would call the hook, right? The hook of this song is you're gonna miss this, and it's actually the this is that's changing. And I think that's why it was a big song because I think a lot of people connected with it because um, it's a very universal theme. I used to have a boss that used to say all the time, the good old days are now. He would always say the good old days are right now. And I never understood that until I got older. And now it's like when he was saying that, I look back on those times as being the good old days. So we should appreciate where we are. I think that's what the song is saying. Dory, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it seems as though the recoloring of lyrics happens the most in country music. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
To a point, I think, if you listen, so there
Like,
are
okay.
there are some genres where the lyrics are not very sophisticated, right? Because a lot of times it's more melody based or it's more groove based. Um, but I think that being able to do this with a hook is becoming more popular in all genres, and I think it's definitely something to focus on no matter what style that you're writing, for
I'm
sure.
thinking maybe it's easier in country music because so much of it is storytelling. Do you know what I
I
mean?
I would say that country music is very much amplified in every songwriting tool, and that's why I use country a
Yes.
lot to show you concepts because it's so in your face, right? But it kind of applies to any genre,
Can
for sure.
anybody think of a song that's not country? I mean, I'm sitting here trying to think of a song. Can you think of one that's not country that recolors like this? I guess I'm thinking it's such a strong recoloration, excuse me, such a strong recoloring here.
Chad,
But
Yeah.
I'm
Chad, what
wondering,
was the name of that song that Susan Catania brought in from the 50s? I'm terrible with titles. That was strongly recolored. The It
Was it
was almost a year ago.
was it the Smokey Robinson song that she
I
brought?
think that's the one. Yeah, yeah.
do you remember the name of it, the title?
I'm terrible at name that tune, but
Was it Tears of a Clown? Did she
that's
bring?
it. That's it. Thank
Just
you.
the clown.
Ding, ding,
I think
ding. You
she
go on to the final round, Chad.
Thanks,
I
Chad.
think Dory, if you look at songs, there's a lot of songs that are doing it, but it's not as in your face.
Okay, it's more
Um,
subtle then. The approach is more subtle.
right.
Okay.
And people are saying Cats in the Cradle. I would have to hear it or look
Oh yeah,
at Cats
yeah,
in.
yeah. That's a great.
Um,
What is that? The Harry Chapin?
no, that's Cat Stevens, isn't it? Or is it
No.
Harry Chapin?
No, it's
No,
Harry
it's
Chapin.
definitely no, it's Harry Chapin. And he
Oh,
changes it. The boy grows up. First he doesn't have time to play with the kid. Later the kid comes home from college, doesn't have time to visit. The kid gets kids of his own, and the dad never sees him. So it moves through time. But the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, the little boy blue. You know it, Chad.
oh, I know the song, but yeah, that would have been funny. Cat Stevens singing a cat song too. I don't know what I was thinking. Um, but the way that you do this as a songwriter is to really think about your hook in the beginning before you actually get too deep in the weeds of writing your lyrics. It's really kind of doing like a pre-outline to picture how can I recolor the chorus to actually make it mean something different every time you hear it. Um, so I have some template sort of, Jeanette says premeditated. Yes, first degree premeditated in the first degree. Not premedicated, but meditated. So one of the ways that you can sort of think about this is sort of naming the main emotion of your song. So really establishing early what do I want the listener to feel, or what emotion am I trying to communicate? And that could really be any emotion. But then make an outline that establishes sort of who, where, when, what's the situation in verse 1, what's the hook or the title. If this was that song we just listened to, it's the girl in an SUV in high school. She can't wait to turn 18. You're going to miss this. Verse 2, dad and the girl in the apartment, college, looking around, thinking that this isn't that nice, but then you're going to miss this. And then the bridge, is...
And I don't like doing that, but
then the bridge is the plumber, the girl at the house. When is it happening? Obviously, the kids are screaming, all of that. You're going to miss this, right? So thinking of your song in sort of the big, high-level way can help you determine what do you actually want to say in each verse, and you can be more purposeful or intentional about how you're writing your song. And if you have the book Writing Better Lyrics by Pat Pattison, Pat talks about this in chapter 6, where he talks about boxes. So if you have that book, you can pull it out. If you don't have it, it is something that is very helpful as a good reference book. Another outline that you can use, that's used quite often actually in songs, and I think I'll show you a Taylor Swift song in just a minute that does this. So one of the ways, so this goes back to your question, Tony, do you always have to use time? No, you can also use the who. So one very common trick that a ton of songs uses is verse 1 is about the other person, verse 2 is about me, and then the bridge or verse 3 is about us. Same title, same hook, but the perspective is changing from you, me, us. So you're moving the who through the process, and you can change the when and where, but the perspective can change there. So that's a very good thing to practice as well. And then of course the time frame. So past, present, future, but you don't have to do it in that order either. So verse 1 could be the future. What do I wish things look like? Verse 2 could be the past. And then verse 3 in the bridge could be like, well, what are things like right now? So you can play with the time frame and keep the same hook. So I want to pull up a Taylor Swift song because I think this will be good to show you how she is recoloring her chorus. And Dory, this song could be considered probably pop or country. It was kind of when she was shifting. And I didn't have this song in the presentation, but I think it will be a good one to listen to. So the song that I'm thinking of here is Back to December. And I'm going to share my screen so we can look at the lyrics first. So this is a solo write by Taylor too, so she wrote it herself. So first verse, she said, I'm so glad you made time to see me. How's life? Tell me, how's your family? I haven't seen them in a while. You've been good, busier than ever. We small talk, work in the weather. Your guard is up and I know why. So it's a lot of you, right? Like, I'm so glad you made time to see me. How's life? How's your family? You've been good. Your guard is up. Then when we get to the second verse, now it's these days I haven't been sleeping, staying up playing back myself leaving. When your birthday passed and I didn't call, Then I think about the summer and all the beautiful times. I watch you laughing from the passenger side, and I realized I loved you in the fall. So now all of a sudden, instead of talking more about the other person, she's internal and she's talking about these are the things that I have been going through. There's a pre chorus and another chorus. And then when it gets to the bridge, the end of the bridge says, "But if we loved again, I swear I'd love you right." So it went from you, me, us, or we. So it's recoloring the chorus by changing the perspective. So let's give it a listen and see how she's also using not only the content is contrasting between the verses, but listen to how she contrasts each section. Each verse, pre-chorus, and chorus has its own sort of musical and structural identity. So this is Back to December. It's on a journey throughout, obviously, this relationship. Whoops, hold on. Taylor's trying to sing more songs.
Always.
But it goes from the you, me, us that I was talking about, kind of that tool. Susan, you said it'd be interesting to know her process on the song when the melody and the lyric writing happened. I think Taylor writes a lot of melody first, and then writes lyric to the melody, because her songs are so melodic. And she also works a lot with Max Martin, who is a melody first writer, a lot of the time. And you'll find that a lot of more contemporary writers do write melody first. So did Gordon Lightfoot. Gordon Lightfoot said he would come up with chords, melody, and then lyrics were last for him. What are some other thoughts on this song? Jeanette said, "Leave the chain on your door," says a lot. Absolutely. Victor, what did you get out of it? Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I'm still absorbing it. This one's a little more complex than the previous one. Um, all the things that you said, but I also noticed the is that the pre-chorus? She keeps focusing a lot in that too. That also felt different to me each time that she said it. Emotionally, it just kept getting more torqued, more tightly wound as she moved through the song. So she's working on so many fronts. I usually have to listen to a song like this more than once to fully absorb it. But I mean, I definitely felt it for sure.
Awesome. Michelle says she thinks Taylor's older songs have better lyrics like this one. This one is an older one. Her newer songs are more formulaic. In some ways. But yeah, I think this, like I said, this is a good example of the you, me, us, or changing that perspective when you are trying to recolor your chorus. So you can think about outlining when you are writing. Let me get back to my presentation thing here. I have one more outline template that you can use as well, which is more of a topic driven outline. And this is more of your verse one can establish a situation or a problem. And then chorus, how does the singer feel about it? Verse two, how did we get into this situation? How does the singer feel about it? And then verse three, or the bridge, what can we do to fix it, or what can we do in the future? And then how does the singer feel about it? So you can, let's say you come up with an idea and you're like, I want to write a song about someone moving away, right? So the situation is someone moving away. So then you can think about, well, the chorus can be, well, what are the emotions of moving away? And who is the singer? Is the singer the one that's moving away? Are they singing to someone that's moving away? Is it completely third person where they're just telling a story about someone that's moving away? As you come up with these outlines, really think of what is the perspective and who is actually doing the talking. Because I think sometimes as writers, we forget that we're sort of writing a script for a singer to sing, right? We're not only telling a story, but we're also telling those stories through the vehicle of a singer. Sometimes that singer's us, but then sometimes we're writing for other people to sing as well. So that's another outline how you can color your chorus. So again, advancing your story, advancing and recoloring, advance the who, when, and the where. I'm going to play you one of my songs. I don't have the lyrics up, but I think you'll be able to hear them. This song kind of keeps the same who, but it advances a where and a when. And it uses a structure that we'll talk about in a moment when we start to get into some other writing exercises, but it has the title at the end of the chorus. So you have non-title, 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 and then the title line in the chorus. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But this is a song that I wrote a few years ago called No One Wins. I just stare at the freeway and he stares at his phone. Damn, the silence has made its point. Now we're missing our exit and he jumps down my back. This is getting us both annoyed. There's a line that we both have drawn and neither one is giving it. It's a line that we need to cross, but neither one is interested. I think our problems that we try to boil the ocean. We start to argue and our wounds are cut back open. Then we begin until we're stuck. It's like we're frozen, and no one wins. Now we're parked in the driveway and he slams the front door. Drop my head on the steering wheel. We've been stuck in this battle, in this long tit for tat. We forgot what we're supposed to feel. It's now time that we compromise, give in a bit and let go. Feels like time that we made some peace. This stubbornness is getting old. I think our problems that we try to boil the ocean. We start to argue and our wounds are cut back open. Then we begin until we're stuck. It's like we're frozen, and no one wins. And then this song doesn't actually have a bridge. It just kind of repeats the chorus going out. But I was advancing kind of the where and the when there. Victor said, nice contrast in the sections. Thank you. Tony says, hearing your songs, I can definitely picture in the 90s boy band like Backstreet Boys or New Kids on the Block. Perfect. That is perfect. But as I was writing that, I was thinking about how do I advance this concept of like no one wins. And for this particular song, it was about changing the location and sort of the when. So moving forward in a short amount of time and the where, but it's not as big or as like it doesn't color it or recolor it as much as like what the You're Gonna Miss This did. So now let's start talking about common chorus structure. So choruses have two types of lines. So there's title lines or lines that contain your title. And then there's also groundbreaking non-title lines or lines that don't contain the title. Jimmy Kachulis at Berkeley calls the non-title lines swing lines. So you have title lines and you have swing lines. And one of the ways that you can practice writing choruses is by using different patterns of title lines and the swing lines or the non-title lines. So there are really 6 very common chorus structures that are kind of like the base of where a lot of songs start. And it's a way that you can practice writing choruses. And this is, so the T's represent the title lines, the dashes represent the swing lines. So one of the fastest ways to write a chorus is just repeat your title, or have a line that has a repetition of the title. So just repeat it. You can also bookend your chorus where you have the title in the beginning, a title line in the beginning, swing line, title. You can also have title, swing line, swing line. You could have swing line, title, swing line, title. A lot of country songs have a bunch of swing lines and then the title at the end. And then you will also see songs that have the title in the first line and then swing lines following. So these structures are good to keep in mind when you are feeling like, I don't know how to structure my chorus, because you can experiment a little bit with these different structures. And we're going to do an exercise coming up to sort of give you some practice at this. But I wanted to show you some examples of songs that use each of the different structures. So the first one, just repeating the title. So the title. An example of this would be, and there's a ton of others, you know, How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You by James Taylor. That song does this. But this is a Rihanna song called We Found Love. So that's just the repetition of a title. You know what the song's about, right? We found love in a hopeless place. Next one, swing lines, and then the title at the end. Here's an example by Kelsey Ballerini called Heart First at the end of the chorus. Fire and Rain has the title at the beginning, and it doesn't repeat the title again in the chorus. Line, swing line, swing line. Now we have a swing line, title, swing line, title. Here's an example by Jennifer Lopez.
If you go hard, you gotta get on the floor. If you're a party freak, then step on the floor. If you're an animal, then tear up the floor. Break the sweat on the floor. Yeah, we work on the floor.
That's the type of music Victor will be writing next. But that goes swing line, title, swing line, title. Now we have title, swing line, a little bit of Lady Gaga.
Can both fall in love. I'm on the edge of glory, and I'm hanging on a moment of truth. Out on the edge of glory, and I'm hanging on a moment with you. On the edge.
So a lot of these choruses seem very simple, right? Because those are the parts where you want the most people singing along. So you don't want your chorus to be too complicated, right? So keeping it simple is a big thing. And then now let's listen to a song by Pink that actually does the bookending, where it has the title in the beginning and the title. Another way that you can write choruses is you can do what's called a list chorus, where you just list a bunch of things and then it sort of goes to the hook. This Tim McGraw song, Live Like You Were Dying, is what would be considered a list chorus, where it just lists a bunch of things.
News, man, what you do? And he said, I went skydiving, I went Rocky Mountain climbing, I went 2.7 seconds on a bull named Blue Manchu, and I loved deeper, and I spoke sweeter, and I gave forgiveness I've been denying. And he said, someday I hope you get the chance to live like you were dying.
So that's a good example of the list chorus. So let's do now a chorus writing exercise. So I want you to go back to your titles that you had come up with from the picture earlier. And if you joined late after we did the picture, you can just come up with your own title now. But pick a title that you like and write two separate lines that relate to the title. So you're actually writing two swing lines. So let's give it a couple minutes. Just write what your title is, or write a title line, and then write two lines that relate to it and would be kind of considered your swing lines. And then I'll give you the next step of the process coming up next. But go ahead and just put a thumbs up in the chat when you've gotten your title line and your two other swing lines written. So we'll give it just a few minutes and we'll come back in a moment. Swing lines are the lines that are not the title, Susan. So you would write two lines that don't include your title. Give it just a couple more minutes. It looks like some folks have their lines. And you don't have to overthink it. Just if you can think of a couple lines that relate to your title. Um, all right, so we'll give it one more minute and then we'll move to the next step. So the next step in this exercise is I'd like you to take your title and your swing lines and put them in as many of these structures as you can. So maybe just repeat your title lines, maybe do title, swing line, title, do title, swing line, swing line, and try these different structures and see what feels the best to you for your section here. Because what we're doing is we're writing kind of the seed of a chorus. We're practicing writing a chorus section. So let's give it a few minutes here and do as many of these as you can and see if there's one that you'd like the best, because a lot of times one will stand out to you as that's the one I want to go with, or that one makes the most sense. And then we'll come back in a few minutes and we'll have some people share what they've written and see how it goes. So it looks like some folks are wrapping up. We'll give it just a few more minutes. All right, so who might want to share? Um, Tony says it doesn't always work if one of the lines leads to your title line, at least not without rewording it. For sure, but it gets you started for sure. It gets you further along than the blank page. So if you do have to adjust, a lot of times you will, like I was finding myself wanting to rhyme some different things as I was writing. So that's definitely natural for sure. So let's share some. So Michelle, what did you come up with?
So I came up with, my title was Broad in Maine, because that's what the image reminded me of, in my hometown. And so I wrote, Thought You Were Parked, and it was the Swing, Swing, Swing title.
Awesome.
And thought you were parked, thought you were here to stay, but you just stopped at the red light on the corner of Broad and Main.
Awesome. That was super cool.
Thank
Did you
you.
get your hair cut, Michelle?
Yeah, chopped it off. It's gonna come
Awesome.
shorter though. It's too long. It'll be shorter next time.
So how was that exercise for you? Do you like what you came up with?
I do, and it was. Here's the thing. I usually write. I don't know why, but I write a lot of 5-line. If I want that instability, or 6-line choruses. So for me, it was a real push to do just 4 lines. So it was a good exercise.
Awesome. Well, it turned out cool. And you could always add to it if you wanted to, but I thought it sounded good.
Thank you.
Jay in the chat says a bus picking up from nowhere pulled me as I sat at a bench with my dreams bare, as I push to be a man with some stories to share, as I wait on a bus picking up from nowhere. So he bookended his chorus. So that definitely sounds like a chorus, Jay. That's great. Awesome. Ron, how about you?
The title I came up with, storefront shopping. And I put in, I was loving you, but you were just stopping to see. Storefront shopping, never meaning to buy. It was just curiosity. Storefront shopping.
Awesome. So which structure did you pick? Was it the bookended?
It was the, no, swing title.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, that was great too, Ron.
Thanks.
Susan in the chat has crossroad to nowhere. Never know my place, never seem to fit, never want to go, never wanted this. Got to find my way out of here. Crossroad to nowhere. Awesome. That sounds like a chorus for sure. Sweet. Victor, how about you?
My title was At the Corner of Used to Be and Tomorrow. And I tried it many different ways. I got about 3 to work, but the best one I think went swing, swing, swing title. So it came, I'm looking back at where we were and wondering where we will go, standing here at the corner of used to be and tomorrow.
Awesome. Sweet. I'm missing some in the chat here. That was great, Victor. I love that title, by the way. And I saw some other people's faces perk up with that. That was good. David has wires in the sky. Thin little wires in the sky, falling off trying to fly from the wires in the sky, controlling streets with lights. Cool. Tesha has cuts both ways. Leaving you was the only answer. A clearer mind and it would have been faster. Punch to the gut when my heart lost its master. Still cuts both ways. Awesome. So that's ending on the title. That's really cool. Really nice job. Jeanette, how about you?
Yeah, I got 3 different versions for titles. And the title is Green Light Moment. So one is Green Light Moment, where we meet, I know where to go. The other one is Here Comes Our Moment, let's go here at the green light moment. And then The other one is look where we are, our favorite stop, a green light moment. There's always a place here at a green light moment.
Awesome. Do you have one that you like best?
Uh, I think I like the look where we are, our favorite stop. Blah, 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 blah,
Okay,
blah.
awesome. Shelly, how about you?
So, my title is Down on Lonely Street. I kind of thought of somebody like going to the bars down that street, like that's where they've come to. So I had Down on Lonely Street, I'll admit defeat and take a street down on Lonely Street. And then when I was trying to do the last one, that was, I think it was swing, swing, swing title. I ended up going swing, swing, title, title. So I did I'll admit defeat and take my seat down on Lonely Street, down on Lonely Street. And then I feel like I like that one the best.
Go
So
with it. Yeah. Yeah, these are just starting points. So you
yeah,
can mix and match the structure how you want. But yeah, doubling your title line definitely works for sure.
yeah, this is super helpful.
Mark has Life in a Small Town. So Life in a Small Town, she worked at the corner diner. He ran a small motel, Life in a Small Town. That's pretty cool. There's a lot of story that could be developed in the verses. Um, Mark Crosby has Ghost Town, just repeating
Yeah,
title.
no, I hit that wrong. Yeah, Ghost Town was the title that came to mind. Um, and Ghost Town, since you've gone, standing on my own, wondering what went wrong, so that's what came to mind. So I was looking at the last structure at the
Oh,
end, I think,
yeah.
but
So the
Ghost Town was the title that came to mind. But after that, it was a case of just looking for a rhyme.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So how did this exercise feel to you? Is this a different way for you to write? Jeanette, you're shaking your head, yeah?
Yeah, it definitely goes in depth with detail because sometimes you get free write and then it could still be discombobulated, but if you focus a little bit where the target areas, it helps a little. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great kicking off point. If you have a title, you can just write some lines and just start experimenting, and it kind of kicks off the thought process. Victor, what are your thoughts?
I don't know, maybe I'm just buzzing on coffee right now, but we used to have to do these exercises in high school, write a little paragraph based on a picture in creative writing, and I never got anywhere with them. But I thought this was actually not a bad start. I'd never gone through that process before that quickly. So either that or it's just the Chad Shank magic.
That's what it is. That's what it is. But look at all these cool songs that you all like came up with in like 5 minutes, right? You have like some really cool ideas. A lot of times we overthink what we're doing and we actually just should just roll with it. Shelly, how about you?
So I actually can't believe the timing for this because this week I was working on a song and I was like, I cannot figure out this chorus. I can't figure it out. So I was listening to a bunch of other songs to see what did they do? How did they do this? Because I just couldn't get the structure to come together. So this is like perfect timing because this is exactly what I needed to do to be able to look at it and see like how do I want this to fit together. So great timing, Chad.
Awesome. In the chat, Michelle says a great way to take an idea and a concept and expand it into a song. Might make use of all my miscellaneous bits of lyrics. Yeah, absolutely. It gets you a start of a section that you can build from for sure. Especially if you're really just starting with a title, or if you just start with lines, right? You could really just start with writing a certain line of lyric, and maybe you're like, well, what could I say that relates to that? And maybe that ends up being another line, or maybe it could be a title line that comes to you as well. You kind of just have to roll with it. Victor says it might come in handy for the June challenge. Yes, when we do the 1 day challenge, that's going to be fun. So let's keep going here. Tesha learned that one of her songs that she had written follows the title and then followed by swing lines approach. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great kind of skeleton and great templates to use. So using not only those, but then also the other outline templates can be helpful for you. So now when we talk about choruses compared to verses, one of the things that you should aim for as a writer is to try to have your chorus contrast your verse. So this means your chorus should stand out and sound different than your verse. So a lot of times I hear people saying, I want to know how I make my chorus and my verse sort of like lead into each other, or I want to know how to make them match. And you really don't want them to sound too similar to each other, because you will bore the listener, because the listener wants to go on this dynamic journey through the song. So what you really should aim for is each section having its own sort of identity. And if you're staying in the same key, if you're using the same instrument, you're using all those things, your song will still sound like it fits together, even if you are contrasting. But to contrast lyrically, when you are writing, try to have your chorus contrast in the rhyme scheme. So have your chorus have a different rhyme scheme than your verse, have it have a different number of lines than your verse, have it have different line lengths, and then also have it have different rhythm of the lines. So if we look at Taylor's song again, her verse has 6 lines, her pre-chorus has 3, and then her chorus has 7. So each section has a different number of lines. The rhyme schemes are different. This has an AAB CCB rhyme scheme. When you get to the pre-chorus, it has kind of an XAA, and then you have AAA, XAAA. So the rhyme scheme's changing, the length of the lines is changing, the rhythm of the lines is changing, and the number of lines is all changing. So in your songs, I see a lot of writers where every single section is 4 lines, same rhyme scheme, 4 lines, same rhyme scheme, and that bores the crap out of your listener subconsciously. So you want to focus on contrast, and how you do that from a lyric perspective is all of those things that I mentioned here. So changing the number of lines, changing the rhyme scheme, changing the line length, and then also changing the rhythm of your lines as well. So it keeps your listener interested. So just kind of contrasting the number of lines might look something like this, where your chorus might have more lines than the verse. You also may have like different rhyme scheme, where this might be A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, and then it goes C, C, D, E, E, D, and then title. But that's just an example of how it could look different. I also showed you with Taylor's song. So then let's talk about from a chorus melody perspective, and then also some harmony tendencies within the chorus. So on the chorus melody, some things to think about in kind of the circle in the middle is you want your chorus to sound different than your verse. Also, many times your chorus is the highest part of the song. Not necessarily, there's no rules, just tools and tendencies, but a lot of times it is higher. Your hook should be easy to pick out. So your title line should also stand out from the rest of your chorus. So your listener knows like, hey, this is the hook. And again, it should be easy to sing, so it's easy to remember. Also, your chorus melody can start on a different beat in the measure than your verse. So if you're starting on the downbeat in your verse, maybe start before the downbeat or after the downbeat in your chorus. Make it sound different. Use different rhythm patterns than your verse. Use different pitch ranges than the verse. You can have the same chord progression, but if you have the same chord progression, the melody needs to definitely contrast more, especially if the chords are the same. You can also change the chord progression if you want, and then the instrumentation or how you're playing or the groove should be different as well. And then for a chorus harmony part of this, like I said, you can have the same chord progression, but then other structures need to definitely contrast. And try changing how often you change chords to change the harmonic momentum when you get to your chorus. So sometimes you might be changing your chords every measure in your verse. Maybe try changing chords twice a measure in your chorus. Just kind of make it different there. So I think that's all that I had for today. What are some thoughts or questions or just open discussion that you have about what we've talked about today? And I think I missed a bunch of chats. Tony says that was great. Thank you, Tony. Anybody else have thoughts on the chorus? Jay.
Chad, I gotta take off, man. But before I do, I gotta say, man, you're like the Rosetta Stone of just breaking this down, and I really appreciate your time, your patience, really guiding us through this process over and over. And you've really just been an immense light in the storm. So thank you.
Well, thanks, Jay. I appreciate it. Jeanette said, great class. Tesha said she likes to imagine what will the audience be singing in unison at a concert. Absolutely. That can help you see, what your hook is. How is it singing? Definitely. So is this going to get you excited to go out and write some choruses? Shelly, I think you're pumped up.
I got like 4 open songs sitting here with me right now that I'm like, they're all under construction. And it starts for me with the chorus, because I gotta feel like I nail that down. So, and most of the time, but we do a class with you, and now we got more songs to write just from a little practice thing. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Did you
you're welcome.
put the buy a coffee thing in the chat?
I didn't, but I should here. I think I can type it quick. So again, no pressure, no obligation, but there is a link to do tips if you'd like, if you find it helpful. Michelle says so much great information that will help me with the songs, just like Shelly said, or work in progress songs. Got it. David says he feels like the magician's secrets revealed. Kinda. Yeah, it's kind of just breaking down what popular songs do. Susan says always good info and helps the organization of thoughts. Awesome. Yeah, hopefully it helps you when we do the challenges and when you are writing your own stuff. Jeanette, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I just remembered something. I was writing a song last week where I didn't plan on it, or I actually wrote the chorus in the beginning, but now, I didn't finish it all the way through. I got the melody and all that. But now I think I want to go back to it and just reframe it now with the steps and tools you gave me, because I started the chorus first in the song. So this will help. Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Victor.
I think this is also a great thing to keep in mind, all the stuff we've been talking about as you're listening to songs too, and watching what they're doing, like that song we were talking about in the conversation in the community, shifting into a new mode, right? He's keeping the same chords, but they're really achieving a great deal of contrast and really in that big pie graphic that you put up. I was looking at how many points they were hitting in that song. So it's another way to tune the ear, which is going to tune your writing as well.
Yeah, definitely. I love that, Victor, because that's a great way to see what songs that you really like, what they're doing, and looking at it through the lens of just taking the chorus and saying like, well, where are they saying the title? And do they have other lines, or where is the hook falling? And you'll see that a lot of times they fall into one of those structures. But yeah, awesome. Dory said, love the info in order to streamline the whole process while still honing songwriting skills. Awesome. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today. Next month, we are going to talk about writing bridges and then my thoughts on rewriting, which I don't necessarily like the term rewriting because I think that makes it sound like you're throwing things out and you're redoing things. I would much prefer the word editing because I think for me, I don't know why, but the word rewriting just kind of bugs me because I feel like I'm not really rewriting it. I'm refining it or editing it. So we'll talk about that and writing bridges next month. And then also in June, we will be doing the 1-day songwriting challenge, which this will be fun because we'll all be starting from the same place again and seeing what people come up with. So you'll have to join to see what that is. But that's going to be June 15th and June 16th, where Saturday morning you get the prompt, write it, upload it. We're listening to them on Sunday morning. So you have 1 day to write the song. So it'll be fun. Susan says, if you think about it as rewriting, it might start to make you spin and spin. I think that's true for me, Susan. I think if I think about it as rewriting it, it puts so much pressure. Whereas if I'm thinking I'm just adjusting it or I'm just editing it, that it helps me not get so lost in it. I know it's such a weird mental game, but I think yeah, you never know when to stop. That's true. Awesome. Well, it was great to see everybody. Hopefully you have a good rest of the weekend. Reach out if you ever have questions or anything, but it's always fun to see you. And Michelle, I really dig the shirt too, tie-dye Martin shirt. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'll see you soon and yeah, have a good rest of the day.
Thanks,
Bye,
Chad.
Chad. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.